This video contains how to find the domain and range of a quadratic function. We've got about 3 examples here just to kind of go over it. Alright, so there's a couple things here. First thing, you need to know what a domain means. Domain is the x value. Alright, that is like where the the horizontal axis is. It's right there. Now, when we're looking for the domain of a quadratic, we're looking to see where it begins and ends. Alright, and so that's what we're going to do first. We'll go ahead and do domain first so we can and then we'll get the definition of the range out of the way. So I'm going to use a color here. So I'm looking on the x-axis where, if I start anywhere on the x-axis, if I drew a line straight up, would I touch my parabola? Now, some people say, oh, it stops right here at 1, 2, 3, 4. But those are arrows. And so the arrows, they mean they go on forever. So this line is really going on forever. And if that goes on forever, no matter what x value I pick on the right side of 0, we'll keep hitting it. So what about the left side? If I keep going that and I have an arrow, that means it's still going on forever. And that means any value I pick over there is going to work. So in this case, our domain, okay, and you might see it's written like this, is the set of all real numbers. Sometimes it's like a double bar looking symbol. Sometimes it could be just written as all real numbers. And sometimes you can see it as negative infinity, which means goes on forever, which is less than x, which is less than positive infinity. And all 3 of those are ways that you could see it written. So when you see all real numbers or see arrows on the end of them, it means it's going on forever. That means any x value I pick on the x-axis, if I draw it up or down, depending on where your parabola is, and that's what that U-shape's called, is a parabola, then it will be all real numbers in that case. Alright, let's talk about range. Now I'm going to go ahead and put, in this situation for the domain, I'm going to go ahead and put the negative infinity is less than x, which is less than positive infinity, just for this video purpose. Alright, the range is the y value. It's where my y-axis is. So I'm looking to see where my shape begins and ends on the y-axis. Now, if my parabola has arrows at the end of it, that means it's still going up. So no matter, and I'm going to use a different color here to represent this, but if I drew a line, you can see on the y-axis, it will keep hitting it again no matter how high it goes. It's going to hit the parabola. Now, you do realize that there is a stopping point, and that's down here. This right here is the last place that it goes. So otherwise, there's nothing down below this. So what you do is when you're finding the range is you find out exactly the lowest point of on the y-axis. And since this is the lowest point, this is 3. Now, it goes up forever, and every number above this is greater than the 3. So like 4, 5, 6, those are greater. So we would write our range like this. Now there's a couple of ways you can write it. You could say y is greater or equal to 3. And the reason I say equal to is because it's touching 3. Alright, now we could write it that way. Or we could say 3 is less than or equal to y, which is less than positive infinity. We could write it that way as well. So let's try another one. Alright, so here's one. So my domain, I'm going to look. Do I see arrows? Yes. So that means no matter what x value I pick, I'm going to touch the parabola. So that would be all real numbers. So this time using the double bar. just so you can see the difference in the two. Alright, now my range is my y value, and you can see the lowest it goes is like right here. And so we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that is -5. And then it's going up, so that it means it goes on forever. So my range is y is greater or equal to -5. Or like I said earlier, you can say -5 is less than or equal to y, which is less than positive infinity. Let's try one more. Now this one I kind of put a curveball on you. If you notice, there's no arrows, and so the domain is going to be a little bit different here because we got to find where it begins and ends. And since there's no arrows, then it's got a stopping point. So it stops right here, and it ends right here. So it starts and ends at these 2 points. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So -4, and this one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's +5. Now notice that these have a clear or an open and a closed dot, so that's important. So here we go. We always do the smallest number first. So -4 is less than, and the reason why I said less than is because it's open. X, because we're talking about domain, is less than or equal to because it's a closed one, and then that's at 5. So that means anywhere between -4 and 5, between these 2 spots, will touch the parabola. Now the range, so now the range, remember it's the highest to the lowest on the y-axis. So my highest, or we're going to do green here, my highest looks like it's around here, and we're going to say it's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just for video purposes. And the lowest is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's right here. Alright, now this brings up a very good question. And they could ask this, and so it's kind of important that you kind of get this. Notice that the highest we said was 5, and the lowest was 1, 2, 3, 4, is -5. Alright, if you notice, at -5 I have a clear and I have an open and a closed. Alright, so kind of the way you have to look at this is, do we include -5 or do we not include -5? Well, think of a clear circle, alright? And think of, let's say you have a clear circle, or well, let's do it this way. We'll say, this is the way I'm looking at it. We have a closed circle, alright? And I'm going to draw a clear circle like if we're looking through a tube. Okay, so think of us looking in this direction, looking straight down a tube, and we see there's the clear circle, and the closed circle, and there's the clear one. See, so no matter what, if I'm looking in this direction, I see through this hole, but I see this solid close on the other side. So we have to include this. So this will be a equal to sign because we are including 5. It may not be here, but it is here, and so we have to include that point. So we start with the lowest, which is going to be -5, and we're going to say less than or equal to, and then it's going to be y because we got range, which is less than or equal to 5. And the reason why it is less than or equal to 5 because we are touching, the line's touching at 5.